Hi, I'm Margaret, and for my final unit I decided to do a grade 8 study of the Hunger Games. My objective with this unit was to get my students to start thinking critically about the world around them. Particularly, I want to talk about how the government is run and maintained, and how society has certain expectations for men and women, and how the media reinforces these expectations. Not everything is negative. I did want to talk about our capacity for compassion and how some of us are willing to put the needs of others above our own, even so far as to put our own lives on the line for others, as Katniss does many times throughout the Hunger Games. My plan for the unit was to alternate days of reading, maybe 1 to 2 chapters per day, and writing in our learning logs, with days of activities based on the readings. Learning logs are a journal that the students will keep where they write down relevant information after each chapter. So that might be developments in the plot, important quotes, or examples of themes, things like that, that they would record after each chapter, and then I would assess, and at the end we would do a final assessment based on their learning logs. My activities reflect the themes from the book. For one activity, we look at media and the expectations, like I said, of men and women. So we look at commercials, magazine ads, and then we talk about why then Katniss and Peeta feel they need to present themselves in particular ways during the interviews of the tributes. Another activity looks at propaganda posters, and we'll look at ones from actual World War I and World War II, and we can relate this back to the Hunger Games in how the tributes gain sponsors, again by presenting a certain image of themselves, and how that could make people want to sponsor them and make them likable, and essentially in the end help save their lives. Another example of an activity that I wanted to do was have the students bring in real life examples of heroic acts or random acts of kindness, things that show humans' capacity for compassion. And I have a couple examples in my unit of videos and stories from the Toronto Star, for example, that I would share with the class and ask them to go out and find other examples of that, or even if they know of a story of something like that. My final culminating task for them is a multimodal presentation, asking them to choose a theme and present it to the class. By multimodal, I mean present their information using 2 different forms. So that could be, using music in the background or in the forefront, creating a dramatic skit, poetry, really kind of up to them, leave it pretty open. There would be collaboration and make sure that they're on the right track. I would be making sure of that. And then when they go to present, we would peer assess each other. And then they would also do a reflective piece on what it was like to create that presentation. So they would be saying what it was like to work in a group, how they brainstormed, things like that, because I think a huge part of learning can be done through reflection. I think that many of my assignments draw back to students' real lives, which was my main objective of this unit in the first place. Throughout this course, I have learned that intermediate English is a time for developing skills as a critical writer and reader, and that if we give students control over their own learning, they will be more engaged and they will take ownership over their learning. I tried to incorporate opportunities for students to make choices, to find their own voice, to connect their work to their real lives, and to enjoy their intermediate English experience.